Hello, and welcome to Hope for Felons podcast, where we discuss felons and everything in between. Your host for this show is Douglas Van Vliet. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome back to our podcast and radio show. We're thankful for everyone that's tuning in today. Today we're going to be doing a recap on our conversation that we had with our guest. There's always a time that a person that when they are released to the halfway house, there's a lot of discussion and a lot of personal questions that you have to ask yourself. And we went over a lot of that actually when we had our podcast this weekend. So I am glad with the technology that we're able to have these interviews with people that has been released to the community and that have spent time in the halfway house, that know the trouble that they run into when being released to the halfway house. I believe that each halfway house is different, so I do want to reiterate that the same issue that this gentleman was having may not be the same issue you will have. But I think it's very important that family members reach out to the halfway house, especially if you're trying to get home confinement, to see what their rules and regulations are now, because it seems like more and more people are saying that you cannot go home on home confinement right away anymore. But I do believe that it also has to do with your medical as well. So if you have a loved one that is being released that is a medical person that does have medical issues, then I would definitely reach out to that halfway house. I do know they probably will not be able to give you a direct answer because they have to evaluate that person before a decision can be made. But at least you would know whether or not that they do send those individuals home on home confinement. I also know that each halfway house is different regarding clothing and stuff being sent in. I was able to send this individual clothes and the stuff that he needs, but some halfway houses may be different on that. But I know that they try to accept as much as possible because of the limitations that they have as far as being able to give them access to clothing. I also understand that, you have to figure I have not had anything to do with the halfway house in almost 4 years. And so all this information, current information, is really a need, so that way we know and know how to help these individuals. Because if you can't get a pass to go where you need to go, and things like that, that can actually be a big hang up. And because of all this new stuff, of course, if you go to our website at www.hopeforfelons.com, we do have a large resource list that we have available that is categorized by state, and there should be some information in there that will be a help. But if there is not, then feel free to reach out to us and we will try to get you the resources that you need in your community. I do know that I have been had several calls regarding inmates that have been released that need housing, and for some reason, a lot of these apartment complexes and housing require a background check, and when they find out that you are a felon, then even if it's been 5 years ago, is what I'm finding out, that still it's hard in some cases to acquire housing. So I believe that that is one of the big issues, as well as when you are released to the halfway house, then it's very important that you're able to find housing so that way you will have somewhere to go. Not everybody can go home to their family and friends, so it's very important that you establish, while you're at the halfway house, a place to go. Now, if you have listened to our prior podcast, you will know that I had mentioned several times that the probation officer goes out to the house and they either approve it or disapprove it, depending on the situation, depending on how they feel. Do they feel that this is a good setup for you? If not, then they may disapprove you and you'll have to look at a plan B. Now, one thing that I was told is I needed to have a plan A, B, C, and D, if all possible, so that way if plan A don't work, we can go to plan B. If B don't work, we can try C. And if C don't work, we can try D. But not all the time you are able to, have those resources to be able to set that many plans in place. But I do know that one of the big things that so many people say is, if they don't have family and they don't have friends, then it can be a very hard transition. And now, like the guy that was just released from prison, his mother is in bad shape, and we're trying everything we can to try to get uh, him transportation or a way, so that way he would be able to go to see his mother, because he hasn't seen her in like 16, 17 years, and her health is declining. So, stuff like that is very important. And here at Hope for Felons, we take that very seriously, because people that get out, including myself, I look back, and if I was not out into the community and at the halfway house, I would have never have been able to go to my father's funeral. And I take that very seriously. When a person comes out of prison and their family member, especially their parents, are having an issue, and you don't know what the issue is, but it's medical and life threatening. So I think it's very important that they are able to go see their family member. I can't stress that enough. But that's one of the things that we try to do. And of course, with us being just a small ministry, it's hard a lot of times for us to do what we want to do. But one of the things we do what we can. We are trying our best to get a hold of the goodwill so we would be able to get goodwill vouchers for these people when they're released. But one of the things, like the guest was talking on the show, was that's even an issue if you are not able to go to the goodwill. And of course, we know that the goodwill is not going to bring stuff to the halfway house. So, there again, that can be a challenge if you have no family or friends that is available, to go get you clothes and take it to you. And that's one great big obstacle that we see, because, like the guest was saying, there's no way that we can sit here and say that the clothes that you wore from prison that you would be able to wear at your job, because most of the time when you are released, you never know what kind of clothes. They try to do the best they can, but a lot of times they don't even have clothes that fit you right, which can be a very big issue. They just tell you to roll up the bottom of your pant leg and do the best you can. That's how they work. So you cannot go to work looking like that, because they're going to say, well, who in the world is this hobo? Which I think that the BOP and the state facilities need to do a little bit better dressing these people out. And I believe that that is one big concern that needs to be addressed at that level, because of the fact you only get one outfit, the outfit that you're released in. So, since that's the case, I personally believe that we need to take and make sure that that inmate that is leaving leaves with a fitted pair of clothes that fits them the way it should. Um, but of course, it seems like that the prisons are not in any way concerned about the inmate. Once they go to R&D, they put them in whatever clothes they can and send them out that door. So it's up to the community to try to help these individuals. So that's why here at Hope for Felons, we're trying to come up with the best solution that will help a person when they are released back into the community. Like I said, it can be challenging at times, but we do the best we can. But I'm not going to keep you long today. I just wanted to come in here and touch on uh, the things that we talked about and the need that we have on making it known that the truth about the halfway houses is just not told. But I do agree now that it's better to take the halfway house than to sit in prison for the time that you would get out in the community. So at least you can try your best to get the stuff that you need so you can start working and save your money. Because that's the most important thing that you can do, especially if you're coming out with nothing, because it will save you in the long run from having to go to a homeless shelter or anything like that. And so I really believe that each individual should take the halfway house, but at the same time, I believe that it's a personal decision that you have to make, but always keep in your mind that you need to make sure that you're making the right decision and that you would be able to work. Tell your loved ones that's locked up. Tell them, say, look, you know, if you are wanting to come home on home confinement, we're not sure because every halfway house has been different. But at this time, a lot of the halfway houses has a lot of hoops that you have to go through before you can get to where you need to be on home confinement. But of course, if you don't have a place to go, you know, to me, that is the best. I'm just saying, and I hate to keep repeating myself, but if you are listening, I believe that you should tell them what is going on and what you've heard and let them know that the information that they're getting in there is not the same information that is coming outside those walls. And I wish that I could get this podcast in the prisons because I think that every inmate needs to know what's going on, especially inside those walls. And if I could, I would definitely start a regular radio station so that way, you know, we could get the word out on what is really going on in the halfway houses. Because I think it's really, really scary that, when a person comes out and they think automatically that they will be able to get home confinement, and then they find out, look, they can no longer do it because you have, this, and this that has to be done before you can get home confinement. And the thing and I guess because of the um, new act that was just released, I believe is the reason that now the probation officer does not go do the home visit. They leave it up to the actual halfway house so that way they have more time because they have so many people that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and they really don't have time to go and deal with a lot of the stuff that is associated with the halfway house. Now, they do, from my understanding, they still have probation officers that come out and talk to the individuals, and I'm assuming that each probation officer that is assigned to an individual will go and have an interview with them at some point in time at the halfway house. Normally, I think they usually try to do at least 2 or 3, so that way they can get a feel of how things is really going. So that is going to be our episode for today, Tuesday the 26th. And I wanted to remind you that at any time, if you need help, feel free to contact us. You can contact us at info@hopeforfelons.com, or you can call us at area code 336-517-7861. Until next time, this is Doug, and there is hope for a felon.